Welcome. In front of me I have the newly released Samsung Galaxy A37, and I'll be going over unboxing along with a quick look at the device, its specifications and build quality, and along the way give you my thoughts and opinions about it as well. Yep, so let's get straight into this. This, from the price and whatnot, seems to be more or less a mid-range device. Now, popping it open, I actually want to give them props. Wow, this actually came off in one piece. Congrats, you finally did it, Samsung. In any case, in the box we get the standard paperwork, cable for charging, which I'm just going to try to take it out. There we go. Type C to Type C, so nothing really special here. And obviously the phone itself. So let's peel that off and boot it up. Come on. So, in a second you'll be able to see the display of this device, and this is going to be a 6.7 inches with a little bit lacking bezels, let's call it this way. If you compare it to like their S25 lineup, though I know this is like completely different tier of phone, but if you would be looking for second-hand S25s, for instance, probably coming close to the same price as this. In any case, to give you more specific information about the display right here, we have a super AMOLED display with 120 Hz refresh rate, a peak brightness of just below 2000 nits, 86.5% screen to body ratio, resolution of 1080 by 2340 pixels, so basically a 1080p resolution, and it puts it at 385 pixels per inch, covered with the Gorilla Glass Victus Plus, which is rated as Marsh Level 5. Cool. So one of the downsides right here, I would say, is just the bezels. They're a little bit lacking compared to, like I mentioned, the S25 lineup. So let me just bring up my phone once I enable something like light mode, just so you can see the bezels a little bit better. There we go. So you can clearly see these bezels are much smaller on a phone that is actually older. And this is also with a tempered glass on here, which you can kind of see it has this garbage outlines around on the edges of it. So it actually adds a little bit more bezel to the phone than it actually has, which is just due to the crappy kind of screen protector. But in any case, so like I said, screen right here on paper in terms of specifications pretty good, just the screen to body ratio is a little bit lacking for what I would expect for $400. Now if we flip it over to the back, we have what looks to be a triple camera setup with, for some reason, dark design right here on a white phone, so it's a little bit of an odd choice, but okay. And the cameras right here are 50 megapixel f1.8 wide sensor, 8 megapixel f2.2, 123 degree ultra wide, and 5 megapixel macro. I'm not even gonna go into that. Now with those cameras you can do videos up to 4K at just 30 frames, but 1080p gets you 60 frames. And then as a selfie, at the front right here, nice hole punch, we got a 12 megapixel f2.2 wide sensor that also does 4K 30, and unfortunately 1080p is only at 30 as well. So no 60 to be seen here, at least from a selfie. Now, other than that, now we can move on to the probably more important aspect of this device, which is where I would say bulk of the value usually comes from, at least in my book. So, starting off with a surprising part, battery, 5000 milliamps. It's not the best, but honestly for Samsung, this is also not the worst. And same thing goes for charging speed. This phone offers 45 watts of charging speed. Again, nowhere near the fastest. It's like 30% of the way there to what actual other devices offer, but it is still much better than the S25, which charges at measly 25 watts. So it is a step up in terms of Samsung logic. It's still way behind the competition, so just something to note. By no means this is slow charging, so I believe this will get you topped up pretty reliably, pretty quickly. So I actually might be crapping on this a little bit, but for the price of this device, the battery size, this is honestly pretty solid. I'm not really complaining that much. Would be nice if my phone actually had that. So moving to another point, processor in here, that's where I find it that it's a little bit lacking. It's the Exynos, which already kind of rings a red flag for me right here. Exynos 1480, so 1480, and the device comes anywhere from 6 to 12 gigs of RAM with no expandable storage, and at the base entry comes at 128 gigabytes of storage, all the way going up to 256, which honestly isn't that much at current age. So that's already another kind of problem. So it has a, I would say, pretty underwhelming processor, and at base entry of the price of for like 400, coming with only 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 storage with no expandable storage, and the storage being UFS only, like nothing like 4.0 or anything like that. This phone just kind of screams low end, which, I mean, it is an A37, let's not kid ourselves, but the price, for God's sakes, doesn't really represent that. Now, I am checking this out from GSM Arena, so I'm going to do a quick little check if this price is actually accurate, because to be fair, it surely seems a little bit exaggerated. So I can buy it on Allegro. Let's see. For 1500 US dollar, PLN, sorry. So let's see, 1500. That is, oh, there we go. That is, wow, $400. Cool. So it is accurate. Wow. Now, mind it, this is including tax and at current exchange rates for US dollar, which current exchange rate is exactly $1 US is worth 367 PLN. So, oh, it's a little bit down. Okay, so with that in mind, price-wise, it's not the most appealing price, to be completely honest. And you also don't get anything super great right here. I'm going to bring up a phone closer to the end that I think is much more worth it if you don't really care that much for One UI or just Samsung ecosystem. If you're not in it, that's great, honestly, because you can get much better value for your money in terms of what you get for it in other places. So anyway, let's finish this off first. So storage, RAM, and processor and so on, I would say underwhelming right here, like I mentioned before. And then moving on to the build quality of this device, we have aluminum frame. That isn't aluminum. Are you high? That's freaking plastic. Yeah, that's just plastic. Don't GSM Arena, come on. I don't need anything to check it. I can see that freaking white plastic right here. So yeah, the info right here seems to be a little bit inaccurate, but the back by GSM Arena is claiming to be glass, and it does seem to be glass, so nothing bad to say here. And to be more precise, it's Gorilla Glass Victus Plus as well, so same as the front. And yeah, now I'm not sure why this is supposedly labeled as aluminum when I'm pretty sure it's not. Yeah, I don't believe this is aluminum. For instance, this is. So I can hear it even when tapping on it. This is just straight up plastic. Oh, wow. Okay, I think I know why. By mistake, I clicked on the wrong phone when going back to the tab after checking what was it? The price. So, yep. So now it is saying that it's plastic frame. So GSM Marina was correct. I'm just being stupid right here and clicked on the wrong tab with the A57 instead of the 37. But anyway, that was the only thing that I got wrong. Everything else that I was saying was still correct. So, honestly, that's everything that there is in terms of specifications to this device. It is by all means, kind of like something along the mid-range device, but a very beginning of mid-range. So you're getting very little for it, I would say. And just to now give you a example of what you would be getting for roughly about the same price, right? Yeah, that should be about the same price. So let me bring up this little bad boy right here. Now it is going to be a Xiaomi phone. I am in no way sponsored by them. I just feel like their devices are pretty damn good for what they actually offer. Just give it a little bit of a wipe. There we go. So this right here is not much smaller than what Samsung offers. In terms of actual screen size, you get 6.59 inches instead of the 6.7, so barely any difference. But what you actually get in terms of actual specifications right here is like comparing a flagship device to a to this. It's just hilarious. So right here, on this a little bit heavier device, we get an aluminum body, unlike the Samsung right here. We get starting from 8 gigabytes of RAM going up to 12. That's already a little bit of an improvement. Storage starts from 256 for the same price, by the way, and goes up to half a terabyte. It's UFS 4.1, not some unlabeled garbage. There is unfortunately no expandable storage, but you can get it up to half a terabyte, so that shouldn't be that big of a problem. And more importantly, it comes with a Dimensity 8500 Ultra processor. Now, it's not the fastest that they have to offer, but I'm trying to compare price to price. So about the same price for both of these devices. And what you get right here is equivalent to a flagship compared to what you get from Samsung, which is just an insult. Processor right here is already a standout feature, but where it also just completely clowns on this device is, for instance, charging speeds and batteries. This got 6,500 milliamps at a smaller size and can be charged at 100 watts, opposed to this one at 45. And other than that, display also is going to be better, being AMOLED display. Now, it's not super AMOLED, whatever that's supposed to be, but it has 68 billion colors, 120 Hz refresh rate, which refresh rate is the same, but where it picks up is the pull rate for touch inputs being at over 3000 Hertz. It has Dolby Vision support, certification basically, and HDR10 Plus certification with the peak brightness of 3500 nits. So you're getting display that is much brighter, much better, phone that is much faster, battery that is going to last longer, that can be charged way faster, and cameras also don't really lag behind, as you can do 4K 60 at the back and also 1080p 60 at the front, being with cameras coming with a 50 megapixel wide sensor, f1.5, and 8 megapixel 2.2 ultra wide. So you get less cameras, but at least they're better. So that's what you get for about $400 US here, which in my opinion is a much better pick, as well you get much more phone. And just to also talk about the performance, I mentioned that it has a much faster processor. Now you might be wondering how much faster. Unfortunately, nanoreview.net doesn't have exact comparison, apples to apples, so I can't really go and pull up the 8500 Ultra that we have here. But what I can pull up is the 8400 non-Ultra and previous generation, basically, or lower end. With that in mind, I'm comparing a slower processor right here from Dimensity to this one. And in Antutu 11 benchmarks, NanoReview 11 claims that you get 94% better performance on the older processor that is in here. So not even this one. This one is going to be even better. So 94% already. That's basically double the performance of what we have right here for the same price. In terms of actual numbers from the Antutu, we're looking at Samsung getting 997,000 score with, you know, a couple digits behind there, but I'm just gonna round it up. While the Dimensity 8400, not even the 85 Ultra, gets 1,934,000. So yeah, just a little bit of a increase there. Now Geekbench 6 is a little bit of a different story. For single core, meaning processing performance only, you're getting 38% increase in single core and 76% in multi-core performance. Again, both going to the older version of what's in the Xiaomi device. And where it actually gives you much better performance is in the GPU for gaming specifically related tasks or graphical tasks. You get 197% better performance over the Samsung here. So you're looking at 12,000 score over 4,000. That is just comical. And same thing goes when you look at 3D Mark, which also tests GPU performance. So 3D Mark Steel Nomad Lite test, it gets 193% better score. Solar Bay, okay, there is not even a rating for the Exynos. And yeah, that's basically everything that you need to know. It's on average going to be double the performance what you get right here for the same price. Now, when you're getting double the performance for the same price, I don't think it's really worth going for something that offers you so much less for the same amount of money. It just seems like someone is just trying to take you for a fool and use the fact that you're thinking Samsung is good. But is it really? When a budget phone can literally outperform, run circles around this, and clown on it. Sorry for that brief noise and any kind of noise that you might hear at the moment. But yeah, anyway, like I was saying, because I did pause the video, this phone is just going to be much better option. And I don't think I actually told you what exact model this is yet. So to be specific, this is the Poco X8 Pro, which, like I was saying, is just much better option. They also have the Ultra, which is even faster and has even more stupid amount of battery. So if you want to spend a little bit more, you can look into that as well. But obviously, this is basically one-to-one comparison in terms of price and what you get. And what you get just seems kind of like a joke from Samsung. So anyway, just my opinion right here. At the end of the day, it's up to you. As like I was saying before, if you're not in the Apple ecosystem, this would be a great option. If you are in the ecosystem and you have a bunch of like Apple devices, you rely, for instance, on things like the what was it? Not Apple devices. What the hell is it called? Smart things. There we go. For like your home automations as well and stuff like that. Then possibly you will spend that money, get an inferior product just to have access to things like the smart things and automations and so on. But if you're not, I would highly recommend looking at the Poco there. And like I was mentioning before, I am in no way sponsored by neither Poco nor Samsung, so this is just straight up my own opinion and what I believe is better. So in any case, if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.